Hi, my name is Sharonda Rivera, and I am responding to the call from Tail Ministries to share my testimony as to how I came into the knowledge, the truth of myself being an Israelite. Uh, for me, it wasn't even biblically related at all, which is odd. But I am from Chicago, and I moved to Los Angeles to be an actress, and this is where I currently reside now, is in LA. And one of the things that came along with wanting to be an actress was wanting to know about the industry as far as directors and other actors, obviously, and producers, writers, stuff like that. And I would use this app or website called IMDb, which is Internet Movie Database. And when I would watch a movie or see an actress or a TV show or an actor, I would look them up. And if you look at the bottom of their page, if you never use the app, it tells you a little bit about them. And a lot of them, well, when they're European, sometimes if they're like half black and half European, they'll list in there that they're Ashkenazi Jews. And I saw that so often. It was just amazing how many times I saw that with actors, directors, writers, producers. It was the most common thread throughout all the profiles were that they called themselves Ashkenazi Jews. And a few went by Sephardic Jews, but that was really, it wasn't very common. So I saw the thread and I pulled at it, and I'm like, well, I don't understand what that is. So I looked up Ashkenazi Jews, and you get the standard definition on Google or whatever it is, but I still wasn't understanding how they were Jewish. I didn't get it. They didn't look Jewish to me. In my mind, I had this picture of what a Jew should look like, and it didn't look like all of these European actors that I was seeing. And I remember calling my sister and saying, well, I don't understand how they're Jewish. Like, do you get it? And she's like, well, look at their noses. And I was like, that's not really enough for me. If I put this European actor against that said the European actor that says that they're Ashkenazi Jew against one that doesn't, they look very similar. You can't tell them apart. And in my mind, you should be able to distinguish the difference between a European and a Jewish person, an Israelite. So it wasn't connecting for me. And I don't know if I started Googling like the Ashkenazi Jews was. I started Googling, and I started getting these conspiracy theories about Ashkenazi Jews just being German, descendants. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Another thread, and I pulled at it, and I kept going down what I call the rabbit hole, and I found a PDF, completely free copy of Rudolph Windsor's From Babylon to Timbuktu. And if you haven't read it, it is an excellent book. I highly recommend it. You can get it on Amazon for less than $10, I believe, maybe 13 at the most. And I read the entire book in one night. Like, I did not sleep. I was wired. I was just completely enamored with what was being said. And that led me to a book called Hebrews to Negroes. It's actually a series of books by Ronald Dalton. And I'm reading these books, and I remember I hadn't told my husband because I was scared. Like, I didn't know what to say. But I remember coming out of the room after reading in some books and doing some research, and I was like, I think that black people are the real Israelites. And he just looked at me and he was like, well, I can see that. I could see that. And it was so shocking that, because my husband isn't black, he's Mexican and Puerto Rican. So I was I was very nervous to tell him because I wanted to think that I was crazy. And for a while, I was scared. I was very nervous that this wasn't real, that it was something that the devil was like just trying to steer me away from my studies of what I'd always learned growing up in church, what I was supposed to know, which was the New Testament and the Jews were these these Middle Eastern looking people, and Jesus looked like, I never thought he was white. That was never a thing for me. But I did think that he looked like a light skinned, he was this olive complected white person. But it baffled me, and I was scared, and I remember putting my books away saying, I'm not going to read this. This is not real. And I prayed, like, God, if this is legit, if this is real, don't let me forget, don't let me put it down. And for a few months, maybe I just was like, no, I can't, because I was so scared. I was so, it made me question almost everything that I had ever learned. I'm getting ready to cry. It just, I've been looking and searching and trying to figure out black people in our struggle, at least as Americans, and myself, who I am, who God says that I am, and the blanket terms that I learned in church just didn't cut it for me. It just didn't cut it for me. So it's been, I want to say, almost 2 years, or a little past 2 years, since I have come into this information, and it has opened my eyes up to so much, like too much to explain in the time allotted. And I don't want to make this video too long. I'm already rounding on 7 minutes. So I just want to say to the brothers at Teo Ministries, and Dante, and Sister E, and Blacktastic, and Pastor Darby, and God rest his soul, and Pastor Omar, and all those people who wrote those books, Rudolph Windsor, who's probably no longer alive, and even the Ashkenazis who have gone so far as to let the world know the truth, even if it meant persecution by their own. So I just want to say to all my Israelite brothers and sisters, my Hebrews, keep your head up, because there's so many of us out there. We're everywhere. We're just incognito for the most part. But I love you all. Thank you so much.